Fairhope, a sleepy little town located on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay. We listen as the waves lap gently on the shore and people swim and frolic in the water. Hey, this is 1961, and black and white.
Ah, 1994, full color, ready to go. We're about to embark on a journey together that covers a century in which an idea became a colony, and a colony became a city, a shining spot on earth built to demonstrate economic theories that would benefit all mankind, wherein each person would be able to reap the fruits of his labor and... Oh, well, let's go back and take a look.
In January of 1894, journalist E.B. Gaston asked a dozen reform-minded people to meet in his Des Moines, Iowa newspaper office to review the plan he had devised for creating a model community using Henry George's single tax theory. Henry George? Single tax? Des Moines, Iowa? What's that got to do with Fairhope, Alabama? As it turns out, a great deal. Henry George was a journalist and economist who had written Progress and Poverty, which became a bestseller in the late 1880s, selling millions of copies worldwide. In this book, George theorized that a person should be allowed to keep the fruits of his labor and stop others from speculating or profiteering from his efforts. He felt that all wealth came from the land and that the community defined its value by its placement of commercial, residential, and recreational locations.
Theories, theories, theories. Boring. Give me action.
All right, back to E.B. Gaston's office in Des Moines. On January 4th, 1894, the blueprint he outlined for a colony run on single tax principles was well received. On January 31st, a group of enthusiasts gathered to ratify this Constitution. When that was done, Alf Worcester stood up and proclaimed, "I think it has a fair hope of success." That's how Fairhope was named. The next step was for members James Belangi and Shua S. Mann to set out to find a location for Fairhope, or more correctly, the Fairhope Industrial Association. Many sites were considered, but James Belangi, a retired college professor, in a letter to the group back in Des Moines, gave this description of the site they were ultimately to choose. This is an excerpt from that letter. "We viewed the land and country over the hills and along the shore. It is lovely indeed. High banks and sandy beach, with every here and there a spring gushing out of the bank. I believe it is the healthiest region we have struck yet." The members voted, men and women alike. You know, single taxers were about 30 years ahead of the rest of the country in giving women equal voting rights with men. The paradise Belangi had described was chosen hands down, and plans were made for settlement. Fairhope is among the few places that can cite a specific date for their founding. It was November 15th, 1894, when 28 colonists were to meet on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay. Some came by wagon, others by boat. But on the day of the roundup, they all came together, ready to begin their utopia. Shortly after their arrival, the founders purchased and set aside the land that would become the heart of our bayfront parks for the common use of all Fairhopers. Imagine, when our country's national park system was still in its infancy and bayfront property was plentiful, these people understood the importance of holding these parks for everyone. Fairhope's founders predicted that these parks held in common for all would increase everyone's shared community value. And this has proven so 1,000 times over. These parklands are a sacred trust and must be protected for future generations. The Fairhopers' first order of business was to establish a transportation link with the outside world. In those days, steam-powered bay boats were the chief mode of transportation along the shore, and Fairhope had no pier. So wharf certificates were issued, and within a year, a quarter-mile pier was built and operating. Soon, a thriving colony was operating stores, hotels, businesses, and the first public waterworks in Baldwin County. The members of the Fairhope Industrial Association were purchasing as much land as possible, but they could not buy it fast enough to offset the deeded parcels bought up by non-single taxers in Fairhope. You know, it's ironic that the increased value of the land in and around Fairhope created by these hard-working single taxers attracted non-single taxers as well, who benefited from but were unwilling to join in the experiment. However, with the help of a number of outside supporters, chief among them was Joseph Fells, the famous soap manufacturer, philanthropist, and strong advocate of the single tax theory. The colony grew to over 4,300 acres, which has remained virtually intact to this day. This is the Fairhope Single Tax Corporation office. Come on in.
October 1st to October 1st.
How you doing, Gail?
Good evening.
Charlie? Doc? They meet here the second Thursday of every month.
Will result in a new tax bill
Shh.
a year later. Down in here.
This growing conflict between single taxers and non-single taxers came to a head in 1908 when the town of Fairhope was formed. The colony turned over 38 acres of streets, the water systems, and other improvements to the city, and its first mayor, H.L. Greeno, a decided opponent of the single tax, whose application for membership had been turned down twice in previous years. 1927 saw the opening of the causeway and the end of the bayboat era. Such majestic boats as the Bay Queen, Apollo, and Fairhope would never more ply these waters with cargo and passengers. The whole town used to close up on Thursday afternoons to ride the bay boats to Mobile and shop. Ladies wore their long white gloves to shop at the fine stores or have coffee or tea at elegant restaurants, then returned home in the late afternoon as the sun settled across the bay. But as wharf revenues dwindled and the Great Depression took hold, the colony turned over its wharf and parklands to the city with restrictive covenants to ensure their beauty and use for all Fairhopians. Besides the Single Tax Corporation, two other remarkable institutions in Fairhope were founded by two remarkable women. Marie Howland, a noted social reformer who came here in 1898, brought with her the 1,500-volume library she and her late husband had collected. To make the collection available to all of Fairhope, she set aside a room in her Church Street home and in 1899 opened it as a lending library. At this time, not even Mobile had a public library, and the presence of one in Fairhope illustrates the marvelous intellectual climate fostered here. That climate persists today, and Marie Howland's collection formed the nucleus of our present-day public library, which currently has over 9,000 cardholders. Not bad for a town of 10,000 people. During the centennial year, the reading room was redecorated, and dedicated as the Marie Howland Reading Room. The second unique foundation was the School of Organic Education, begun by Mary Etta Johnson in 1907. Mrs. Johnson became nationally known for her work here, earning the admiration of such notables as Mrs. Woodrow Wilson, Attorney Clarence Darrow, and the famed educator John Dewey. Mrs. Johnson believed that children were not miniature adults, but required special methods organic to their particular needs. Her educational methods were so successful that at the school's peak in the 1930s, any of the school's graduates who applied to colleges were accepted without question. Although the former campus of the organic school is now home to the Fairhope branch of Faulkner State Community College, the school still operates in a new facility south of town. Mrs. Johnson is remembered in a museum located in the historic Bell Building on the Faulkner campus. The museum was founded by Kenny and Mama Dot Kane and is a fine tribute to this remarkable educator. From its beginnings, Fairhope enjoyed quality health care with doctors such as Mershon and Goddard. Later, Dr. Jordan's clinic supplied medical needs for our growing community. Thomas Hospital, founded in 1961, has grown to a 150-bed facility offering quality health care on the Eastern Shore. As you stroll these lovely streets past the fine shops and restaurants, beneath the shade of the Bradford pear, surrounded by the beautiful plantings, you become aware that there is more here than meets the eye. The lovely brick sidewalk beneath your feet, for instance, were donated brick by Fairhopers. Over 2,000 running feet of memories, like in memory of Bob and Jenny Walker, lovers of Fairhope, or Anna Braun, artist. So many Fairhopers, so many memories. This Centennial project was instigated by Susie Glickman, who gave an incredible amount of time to bring her idea to fruition. But Susie's dedication typifies so many who give so much for this town. The efficiency and spirit of our city government is universally known among our citizens. Mayor James P. Nix has presided over the city of Fairhope for over 20 years. He and the 5-member council not only oversee the city's functions, but serve as its utilities board as well. During Mayor Nix's administration, Fairhope has continued to grow and change, having both a strong economic base and a thriving downtown. In 1993, Money Magazine rated it #2 in the nation in its list of retirement locales. Our new Welcome Center saw over 50,000 visitors its first year, representing virtually every state in the nation and 46 foreign countries. During the winter season, Fairhope's downtown is illuminated by over 1 million lights, creating a wonderful nightly display that enchants residents and visitors alike. The elegant clock at the corner of Fairhope Avenue and Section Street was given in memory of Lawrence Tuck by his wife Marjorie. Its chimes can be heard throughout the downtown area every quarter hour. Horticulturist Tim Cant and his crew keep the flower beds and trees in peak condition all over town. From the main intersection, down the street in planters, beneath the trees, out Fairhope Avenue, on the bluffs, or our fabulous rose garden surrounding our majestic fountain. And where would Fairhope be without its artists? The Eastern Shore Arts Center has over 1,000 members and hosts shows and concerts throughout the year. Its academy offers a wide variety of courses for both the novice student and the seasoned craftsman. Each spring, the Art Association and the Chamber of Commerce host over 100,000 visitors to Fairhope for the annual Arts and Crafts Festival and Outdoor Art Show. This event has grown from a few dedicated artists and craftsmen to hundreds of exhibitors from around the nation and is rated as one of the premier art events of the South. One of these dedicated artists lives across the street from the Art Center. Nestled in the woods is the Sheldon Castle, a town landmark built and occupied by famed woodcarver Craig Sheldon and his wife Annie Lowry. Wonderful, whimsical, powerful works of art have come from these skilled hands for over 50 years. The Sheldons' children grew up here and went to the organic school. Little Pagan, seen here in 1961, realized her dream of becoming a professional dancer, and now with her partner, Eugenia Leno, operates the Creative Outlet Dance Center, a highly successful and respected studio. Theater has also thrived in Fairhope. Theater 98, now at home in the Church Street Playhouse, has been producing quality productions for nearly half a century. Here's a late 50s production of The Miraculous Mandarin, featuring Gretchen Riggs, who devoted decades to fostering theater in Fairhope. Following in her tradition is Mary Louise Adshead, whose Jubilee Fish Theater is the only equity acting company in the region. Formed here in 1990, it mounts several professional productions each season. With our history of community spirit, several planners got together as 1994 approached and decided to make the Centennial a truly community celebration. With Mayor Nix and Fairhope Single Tax Corporation President Charles Ingersoll as co-chairman, the Centennial Committee met to begin preparations for a year-long celebration of our first 100 years. Larry Thomas, Sam Irby, Clay Havard, Renee Mashburn, Larry Green, and Isabel Jackson were the other energetic volunteers on this committee. Fundraising began, budgets were approved, entertainers booked, and soon the kickoff celebration, Celebrate the Century, was underway. Scores of volunteers had worked long hours in preparation, but would Fairhope turn out for the party? And boy, can they party. This is where it all started. New Year's Eve, 1994. Despite bitterly cold temperatures, an estimated 15,000 people came for Fairhope's first night celebration. On stages scattered throughout the city, performers representing various decades of entertainment, from ragtime to big bands, from the Blues Brothers to Michael Jackson, provided a century of entertainment. Food, displays, rides, and just plain fun made this event an enormous success. Mardi Gras has come to Fairhope in recent years, and our Centennial year was no exception. Colorful floats, friendly crowds, and lots of throws made it a good time for all. The next event, Celebrate the City, took place in March. An Easter parade with fantasy characters was followed by the largest egg hunt in Eastern Shore history. Thousands of kids gathered 15,000 eggs in Knoll Park. Each spring, our Bayfront Parkland is the location for Earth Day. This annual event helps keep environmental issues in the forefront.
Methinks we celebrate the Bay.
In May, beautiful weather and thousands of participants made Celebrate the Bay another success story. Bands, games for kids, and a marvelous production of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream highlighted the day. Chairperson Vivian Sisko did a wonderful job of pulling it all together. From its earliest days, Fairhope has had Independence Day celebrations. Here, a bunch of cowboys whoop it up on a 4th of July at the turn of the century. But no previous 4th could hold a candle to 1994's Celebrate America. Hee-haw! A supercharged concert by Shelby Lynn provided the prelude to the massive fireworks display that climaxed the evening. Afterward, the young and young at heart stayed on, dancing the night away at a hoedown. As we moved toward the fall, planning proceeded for the Harvest of the Arts. This event centered on the bluff overlooking the bay and culminated with a concert by the Mobile Symphonic Pops. A display of children's art, whimsically decorated pumpkins, food booths, and beautiful luminaries added a festive touch to this celebration. Saturday, November 12th saw the final Centennial celebration. Celebrate the Founding was a tribute to the people whose vision and foresight created Fairhope. A full-scale reenactment of the founders' arrival by bayboat was staged. Here are Mayor Nix and his wife Ann leading over 80 costumed descendants of those first families ashore. A procession of 6 bayboat floats carried them up Fairhope Avenue at the head of a people's parade that drew in spectators and swept them along to the Fairhope campus of Faulkner State Community College. Here, Graham Timbes and Company presented a production based on the ideals, writings, and memories of famous Fairhopians. The Top of the Bay Choral Group from Fairhope High School sang Fairhope, and speeches were made by Mayor Nix and President Ingersoll in tribute to the founders. Afterwards, a huge community picnic was held, with special thanks to the Fairhope Booster Club and Cecil Christenberry and crew for hosting the old-fashioned games for children. The events of the year were a wonderful testimonial to the community spirit of Fairhope and to cooperative individualism, to borrow a phrase originated by the founders. A wonderful example of this is Fairhoper Community Park. A giant community-based playground for young and old, built by over 1,000 volunteers. Charlene Lee and Molly Nix headed this remarkable project, which coordinated the efforts of dozens of volunteers in the planning stages and culminated in a week of construction. The design features a multitude of swings, slides, and maze-like towers, a teen pavilion, and art objects scattered throughout the park, and was carried out by hundreds of people of every age, working at every level of skill to give the park a unique Fairhope look. If you judge a community by the level of involvement of its citizens in making it a better place to live, then Fairhope will finish at the top of anybody's list. The Centennial also created a number of other tributes to our town. Fairhope, 1894-1994, a pictorial history written by Dr. Larry Allums, was published in September, and most of the 2,100 copies printed were quickly sold. 2 original plays about Fairhope were produced as a result of interest in preserving our heritage. Mark Gillespie's A Fair Hope of Success was presented at Theater 98's Church Street Playhouse and chronicled the triumphs and problems of Fairhope's early years. The other play, Characters, A Search for the Essence of Fairhope, was written and directed by Graham Timbes. It is a glowing tribute to the remarkable individuals who have so enriched our community through the years. And lots of other things, like Bill Payne's photographic album, event badges, coffee mugs, hats, T-shirts, posters, and even a solid silver commemorative coin. But the single largest tribute to Fairhope and its community spirit is Centennial Hall. The Fairhope Single Tax Corporation, the City of Fairhope, Faulkner State Community College, the Giddens family, and citizens of Fairhope raised over $1.2 million to create this auditorium and classroom complex dedicated to the power of the idea and its unlimited potential to benefit mankind. These are the important monuments to Fairhope's first 100 years, that we were founded on the principles of fairness and hard work and cooperation for the benefit of all, and that these principles are still alive and well in Fairhope today. Oh, we may not be perfect, but our priorities are still straight. As we enter our second century, we're passing the torch to a new generation of Fairhopers. We're asking that they remember these ideals and continue to put them into practice and do their best to keep Fairhope the wonderful city it was, is, and can be. To all Fairhopers who have given and continue to give so much to this community, we dedicate this film. Well, that's our tribute to Fairhope and its first 100 years. As the sun sets on our first century, we hope it will rise on a Fairhope that remembers its unique qualities and heritage of community spirit for the next 100 years.